Hi. Hey. Hey, what's that? What's happening, man?
How's it going? I just realized I was muted. What's
Oh,
up? How you doing, man? You good?
yeah, doing good. Can the people hear us?
I hope the people can hear us. They said that they could hear my stuff really good, so I'm hoping.
Alright.
I'm hoping. Let's see.
Well,
Let's.
you already imitated the Kumite with the music. You're gonna imitate it with dead air too.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's yeah. You gotta if you're gonna imitate something, you gotta do it perfectly without any type of fuck ups on my part. You know, it's gonna be fantastic. So, welcome everybody to the stream. How are we all doing today? I see we got Mara. I think I saw Tennessee Marine there. How are you, bud? We got Casey. We got Butter Baron Brian, the big boy. He wants me to ask you questions later. Vamp's ankles, Spike's here. We got all the warriors. All the warriors came out tonight. Jess tells you what's up. Failure, my man.
Crazy week, huh?
Fucking hell! What a crazy week, man. Dude, what the fuck is
Oh,
going on?
fuck, crazy week. It's been a crazy year. Fucking it is wrapped around, hasn't it?
Dude, it's come fucking full circle, man. Full
Dude,
fucking circle.
I don't know if you could pull it up, but there was a comment from my stream that I posted on Twitter, and they captured it perfectly. They said, let me see if I can find it. Sure. They said, oh, last season of IBS, a public event went sideways and people got angry. This season on IBS, a public event went sideways and people are angry. The storyline lacks ingenuity, and I blame the writing team.
Well, it seems like it is being written. I gotta say, I wasn't. I'm not gonna lie and say that I don't think that this is a work because I still think it kind of is. Although I have I have my strong doubts after what's transpired over the last like 24 to 48 hours. So I'm hoping this is a fake and they get up there and they're just like, oh, we were just fucking with you guys the whole time. But something tells me that's not gonna happen.
No.
Uh, nah, I didn't think so. Yeah, I mean, maybe you have insider knowledge or something that we don't. I know that you and Tonko were kind of boys there for a little bit, so I want to go over though some things. Uh,
For a while, I saved his life at one point.
really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, we'll get into that in a second. I do want to just let everybody know this isn't a stream attacking anybody. I like having a little bit of fun because I was extremely let down. I was actually one of the people that got their money back from Valor because I think I've decided that I'm probably not going to be going to Knoxville. I might change my mind in between today and Saturday, but
I gotta ask about that. I thought there was no refunds. Did they just this was a special circumstance and they just had to, or what?
well, it's because a lot of people wanted to go see just Tonka and Andy, and then they were just going to watch the fights after that too. Then they were going to head out and whoever clan they were fucking a part of, I think everyone was just going to go their separate ways. I know Tennessee said he was going to do something where he's like drinking at a bar or something like that. So, that's what I was expecting. And I actually like fighting. Like, I still might go and watch it. Like, I might just buy a ticket at the door. But they said, like, over $6,000, I think, was lost now because people got refunds for their tickets. And I don't know, I'm not sure if they had to pay forward for the stream. But I can only imagine that they lost even more money or potential money from that.
$6,000. Think about how many seats that is. Like, even if you like put it at the most expensive seat, how much? Like, what was the price of your ticket?
My ticket was only 30. My ticket was only
30.
yes 30. That was like for the regular seats, but I know like close up it was like 150. I think it was something like that. I'd have to check. But I mean that's still quite a hefty piece of change there, man. Like people don't got that
Even
money
even
thrown
at
around.
even at 150 a piece, that's a lot of fucking seats for just a fucking bullshit YouTube fight.
Yeah, I mean it's like I cannot tell anyone enough how absolutely disappointed I am in the turnout of this. So, I mean, it's It's really I am at a loss for words as to how this could have happened. So, what I wanted to do is again address that I am not attacking anyone. It looks like having a little bit of fun. This isn't an attack on anyone. I guess a little bit on Tonkasaw, and definitely on Kraut, but it's more of a reflection. I want to go with failure down his memory lane and just touch on a few things. I want to touch on how the Kumite started, what it was like during the days in like December, January, February, where it's this huge spectacle, everyone's coming out, and then I want to see where it starts falling off, and I want to go back, and I think I'm going to make a few videos about it, but I wanted to
Mm,
start off with an interview with you, Failure, because I know you were firsthand there. So I know that you guys had like a little bit of a group prior to Kumite. So
mhm.
is Cult of Cactus? Explain to people what Cult of Cactus is or was, I guess.
Well, Cult of Cactus was basically I was always hanging out with Vamp and Tonka behind the scenes, watching stupid videos and just talking to them. And they were on some of my streams, so I was like, hey, we have pretty good chemistry.
Hmm.
Why not take it to a show format? Let's do it 6 p.m. Once a week. And even though it was once a week, there was no energy, and that ended up killing my energy. Fucking my energy is already fucking low, so imagine it even lower. And basically, some of the shows were fucking misses because Tonka would be kind of dead by the afternoon time, and Vamp, sometimes her interest was not there. She was, like playing video games or something. There were some good shows. Like I think the best ones were the ones where they were actually interested in the guests. Like the Anthony Cumia one was pretty good. The Poison the Well one was solid.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, that was just a project where I was trying to get something off the ground. I thought that there was a show there, but one person didn't seem as interested in making it a thing, and the other person had no energy a lot of times when it came time for the show, which was disappointing because I think it could have worked out, and it was not a high demand, not like the Kumite where like it's 5 times a week. It was just one time a week,
Hmm.
and plus it's centered on having a guest on. So not only was it 3 people, but you had a guest included. So you had it should have been something that took off. Sadly, it didn't.
Mm. So I know that you guys had like
Yeah,
people like
yeah. Hold on,
Oh, sorry. What's that?
Big Fat Brian said I got no mention. Look, we saw that chicken you cooked. That well, let's put that to the back of our minds, sir.
So I know that you guys had people like Big Fat Brian on,
Hmm.
and you had people like Tara LaRosa, if I'm not mistaken. Was that Kumite time frame that happened?
No, that was Tara LaRosa on the Cult of Cactus, Esther Koo, Anthony Cumia. But so we tried to go from big names to just friends. It was everything there and in between.
Mhm. And those were pretty big guests. How did you guys end up getting on? Did you just ask them? Was it people that Tonka knew, or
All right.
that you knew, or what was the whole deal with that?
Well, Big Fat Brian was a pretty hard get. I had to pull some strings, and but we managed to, we had to bribe him with blowjobs, pretty much. Uh, Esther Koo is a buddy of mine from, she's a stand-up comic. I used to be in the stand-up world, and I, made friends with her when I was doing a podcast and trying to get back into the stand-up comedy world. And Anthony Cumia, big fan for years. I've had opportunities to talk to him, interview him in the past, so that was just a matter of reaching out again. And he's really a friendly dude, and a lot of times you just ask him, and he'll say yeah. uh there was the benefit, that I've met him in the past, and like anytime we've talked, is always been just real easy to get along with the dude because it's I listened to his show for like a decade, so
Mhm.
when you listen to somebody for that long, you kind of gel with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. He's a guy that if you just ask him the right question, he'll fucking talk for 20 minutes without you needing to fucking say a thing. So he's a fucking easy ass guest.
Nice. All right. So I just want to touch on this because I'm not sure if you've went over this a ton before. So how did you and Tonka meet? Did you? Was it him on? Was it Grapple Vision? Is that how you guys met? Were you just a fan of Grapple Vision and then you guys kind of like clicked on that, or was it a mutual friend or what?
All right. We met because I was a fan of Grapple Vision, and he knew of my channel, and my channel at the time was experiencing a termination because I made a video about a transgender female to male am- uh, amateur wrestler, and that got picked up by Liz Reptile. Liz Reptile covered the story along with other people that were at the time having strikes or their channels fucked with by YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked Liz Reptile if he could mirror the mirror the video. She said yeah, and I was like, oh wait, what the fuck? Why is a video a Liz Reptile video on my on the wrestling channel that I enjoy watching?
Mm-hmm.
So thanks to Liz Reptile, I met Tonka, and unfortunately, we've probably made her life a living hell with all the memes and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, it's not completely unwarranted. I don't think, especially considering all the shit that happened before and then during and then after that up till now. I think there's still effects of it up till now, to be quite honest.
And there was some shit like I really don't remember it all. Like I remember all the memes, the cuckheads and stuff like that. Recently talking to Liz, she brought up that one thing that she was upset about was that apparently I accuse her and Zeph of being pedophiles because of how closely linked they are to pedophile stuff. Like because they back in the day, I think, doxed the pedophiles or exposed them to the police or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't remember saying that, but if I did, I'd fucking, ugh,
Yeah,
yeah, no,
I understand.
no,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
But so you guys meet, you
Mm.
kind of connect. Where does I guess so? You guys pick up Vamp somewhere along the way. You do the Cult of
Vamp
Cactus.
we picked up from a poisoned well. She was a viewer that ended up on a Patreon stream, and later on, she showed up during the stream, and she showed up on a night that she showed up on a night that was filled with drama and ended up sticking around.
Okay, so you picked up Vamp from poisoning the well. And then what you just said, the Patreon stream and everything, she stuck around, and then you guys make the Cult of Cactus. Cult of Cactus is
Hmm.
going pretty well, aside from the she's not wanting to stream that much. Tonka's kind of out of it. So what
Hmm.
happens to Cult of Cactus to where it becomes Kumite? It kind of morphs, I guess, a little bit after everyone's kind of dying out. Does it go directly to Kumite, or does it go somewhere else and then become Kumite? So what was the process there? If you can lay it down for us.
Well, I had always been trying to encourage Tonka to stream on his own channel, and eventually, like he was talking about how he was always tired around the Cult of Cactus time or whatever, and the time that he's most awake is the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
So him streaming in the mornings was the best option for him to stream on his own, and that's what he started. He started doing these small streams where maybe 15 people would show up, and I tried pushing a lot of people there, and slowly it built up. He he has a gift for talking, that's for sure.
He's got the
And
gift of gab,
yeah,
but not so much the
yeah.
gift of jab.
Oof, oof. uh, but yeah. So he started doing those streams on his own, and things started going pretty well for him. He started getting some of the drama, and since there was no other competition, like during that time, nobody really streamed in the morning. Like there was no the prime time was between 6 and 10. I would say 6 and 10 is where you would see most of the people pop up and do their streams.
Mm. So I know that you guys had a bit because you kind of became a co-host on the morning Kumite after a little bit, and I think one of the first streams I ever remembered watching was the Kerry Waska one. So can you explain to everyone here what Kerry Waska? What was her deal? What was her problem with? Because I've talked to Kerry. I think I'm gonna do an interview with her offline here soon for the video, but I kind of want to touch on what your thoughts were on that. What was the whole deal between her and the Kumite?
Karawaska basically, she was a viewer. I think she was a fan of mine, and she tuned in to when we were on Andy Worski's channel when he was away. It was basically me, Vamp, Tonka, Chris Worski, and Joe Worski.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going through articles, and one article that came up was child sex robots.
Child sex robots.
Child sex robots, yeah.
Okay.
And, and the question was, is it wrong to fuck a child sex robot?
Uh,
Because it's not really a child, but
okay.
yeah. The opinion was pretty much, nah, that's not okay. But some people held the opinion that it was it's not really a kid, it's fucking just material, like like fucking a sock,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and some people stuck to that opinion, and Karawaska was in the audience and got real pissed off at, like, Tonka. So I forget who else. I don't know if Joe Worski or Chris Worski had the opinion that it was like, yeah, whatever, it's not a kid, it's just fucking material.
Okay.
It's on Andy Worski's channel, I think, so you could go check that out
There you go. Okay.
for yourself. And so she disagreed, and basically went after Tonka, and Tonka fired back.
Okay.
And that's where we got, like, one of I think Mitzi is in the chat. Mitzi made a song remix of basically Tonka yelling at Mitzi and starting to sing songs and talking about child sex robots in space.
Well, okay. So I gotta ask this now that this was brought up. Was Tonka one of the people that was saying that child sex robots is okay, or was he against it? What was the consensus? I guess from I guess it would be the Kumite there.
I think his opinion was that it's just plastic. It's wrong, but it's just plastic in the end. Or, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay. That's kind of weird, but okay. All right. Fair enough. So I know you kind of touched on this. So in between Karywaska and it becoming the Kumite, you guys
hmm
kind of started gravitating towards Andy, and I know
hmm
everyone here knows what's going on with Andy. I would hope so. If you're watching this, but so Andy Worski, was that he offered to get you guys on because you had been growing so much? Was that a failure
No,
got you hooked up, or what was that?
I've been buddies. Well, I was buddies with Andy since my third stream. My first stream was with Baron, and my third one, I invited Andy Worski on, and he came on. And since then, we had been doing, streams, and he would jump onto my random bullshit streams. Uh, and eventually, I was like, "Hey, want to have Tonka and Vamp on?" And yeah, he let us on, and they were good episodes, I think. But yeah, that started Andy's awareness of Tonka, I guess.
Okay. And this, I mean, you guys weren't on there just like once. You guys were on there like what, two, three, four times on Warski Live back when it was Warski Live and not I guess whatever Andy's doing now. It was back when he was interviewing political commentators, people who were interesting in the community, I guess if you want to call it that, and stuff like that. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, I think that they were pretty entertaining episodes. I mean, I remembered watching a couple of them with you guys on there. I mean, it was great stuff. And then just after that, Andy started hanging out around you guys a lot more, and you guys started picking up some steam. So then you guys hit a kind of a weird patch here. I'm thinking I'm skipping over a little bit of some stuff, but you guys kind of hit a patch where you guys were talking with, I don't want to say out of your league people, but like kind of like hitting above your weight class, I guess would be the terminology. You guys were talking to people like, obviously you said Bearing, people like Andy Worski. You guys were talking with.
Oh no, 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 no!
No?
Hold up, real quick, because before Tonka was ever around, I was getting these people on my own. Like
Okay.
I had Baron on Tonka's, like one of Tonka's first streams on my channel. I had fucking Keemstar on, and that's where Keemstar and him started yelling at each other. It- like I said, it's the Kumite did get the attention of a lot of big names. I'll say it. I'll say this: it was a big part of it was Medicare and Andy, uh, pretty much spotlighting the show.
Hmm. And so you were getting these people beforehand, regardless. So I don't want to make it as like some sort of slight to you, but whenever I say punching above your weight class, I mean like in terms of subscribers. Andy
Yeah.
Worski's in the hundreds of thousands. You guys were in like what, the low thousands or something
Well,
like that.
like I said, I had Andy on when I only
Yeah.
had like 50 subscribers, or not even. I think I had 13 subscribers the first time he came onto my channel. But yeah, like for a small channel, definitely had people that had hundreds of thousands of subs on, and not just on, but watching the show and actually enjoying the show.
Hmm. And then you guys kind of moved on to what would you call it? The trailer park, the Liz Reptile drama. What would you characterize that whole thing as?
Well, the trailer park drama was before the Kumite.
It was before the Kumite.
Yeah, yeah, that was pre Kumite days. It bled into the Kumite. That basically it was. I'm trying not to get too far into the story.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I overreacted. I blocked the Liz Reptile because of comment, and that led Liz Reptile to punch back, and I felt like oh, okay, this is taking a little bit too far because like that night she kept messaging Tonka again and again and again, and there was things said, and it went from something that should have like been a nothing thing and became like a big grudge between me and Liz, but instead of it just being me and Liz, Tonka kind of interjected himself, and then later on, Zeph interjected himself,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, Vamp was in there too.
Mm-hmm. And then what? I know this is what, 2017 probably this happened. Would
Mhm.
that be correct?
2016. Oh no,
2016.
wait, yeah, 2017. Yeah, 2017.
Mm-hmm. So 2017, and
Yeah,
and it kind of bled over from what do you say, like probably April or May of 2017 into, I guess, December, right? That's the so it goes.
yeah.
They started talking shit or whatever.
Mhm.
Cult of Cactus and you guys, kind of fire back, and then they fire across the bow again. You guys are kind of
Mhm.
silent on each other for a few months, and then VidCon happens, and then you guys everyone's buddy buddy. This is
Hmm.
I think this is where everything started to, I guess, fall apart for what would you call it, the skeptic community. I think just from a guy who is watching from the outside looking in. You had all these big creators who everyone watches. You had Bunty King, you had Andy Worski and Chris Worski, you had Chris Reagan, you had Sargon, you had, Failure Accomplished, the big guys. Everyone comes in, they're all buddy buddy, and then afterwards, it's kind of coming out that there's a lot of fuckery going on. I guess you would call it at VidCon. would you call it fuckery?
Uh, I think the VidCon thing, a big thing that came out of it was the drama of crazy hair.
Mm-hmm.
That crazy hair fucking drama, because everything else was pretty much just chill, and the crazy hair thing kind of took that experience, you know, and kind of flipped it on his head, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was that first sign of, oh shit, there's some major fighting going on, you know, because at that point you had Blair White and who else, Sean Head and all those people getting involved in this shit.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then you also had a few problems with Liz Reptile at VidCon. If I'm not, if am I mistaking that, or was it overblown? Was it or
It, there was some. I'll give Liz this. She did come to me during the VidCon and try to squash things.
okay? So
Yeah.
she kind of stepped up, I guess, in between, and was like, hey, let's talk this out. Let's end this here. Um, but somehow it still, what was the thing that caused it to not get squashed? Was there something else that heated up? Was it, like the Cuban Missile Crisis, where everything seemed kind of cool, and then they just escalated things, or like what was the
It's
what was the deal there?
it's so long ago that I really don't remember what started it up. I think here's one thing: I don't pay attention to a lot of what's happening out there, but there are people that like will go to like Vamp or Tonka and report from the trailer park or something like that. So that's where like most of the stuff started from.
Okay, so
I think I'll say this much: it's probably like not even Liz directly that like got things restarted. It's probably side people arguing with Tonka and Vamp, and that started it back up again.
so just some of the players here would have been, I guess, on your guys' side, if you want to call it that. It would have been you, Tonka, and Vamp, and you and
Mhm.
Liz. Kind of were like the two guys who had the main beef, and you guys kind of squashed it. But from what we're understanding now is that Liz is at the head. She doesn't want to do this shit anymore. And then people probably like Zeph, what's the name, Teddy, the Gray Alien, some of those other little guys start nagging at Tonka, and then it kind of heats up a little bit. Am I about in the ballpark there?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of picking on Tonka uh, going on. Uh, there was definitely picking on me, but here's the thing: I think the worst they had was like a video of me eating pizza and burgers at fucking VidCon. And to me, I was like, yeah, that happened,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah. So, and then it starts heating up again, and I think this is where everyone started to see on a mainstream. Tonka saw you and Vamp. Well, maybe not you so much. More so, Tonka saw and Vamp started seeing them on,
Mm.
much. I don't want to say larger because it's just like they kind of propped up a lot more. They like popped up everywhere. It was
Mhm.
like 1 second they were just on Andy Worski's channel, and now that everyone's covering them, you've got Mr. Medicare making videos and stuff, and they're
Mhm.
showing up in them and stuff like that. And this is kind of where, after the trailer park kind of becomes
After
this,
the trailer park came the Kraut Kilroy saga.
yes. So, do you want to touch on that at all? and like kind of go through it from what your perspective was on it. Like, what was it to be as one of the main guys dealing with that just absolute dog shit situation? What was it like from your perspective?
Oh, I was not involved with the crowd stuff. The main players in that to like really get it sparked up was Jeff Holiday and Tonka, because Jeff Holiday went on stream and lied to Andy, and then it was confronted on the Kumite.
Okay.
So that's where the involvement of the Kumite really came in, and they started covering the crowd stuff. I still wasn't on the show at that point.
Okay, so you still weren't on the show at that point. Okay.
No.
Okay. So that Kraut and T saga kind of went by in about, I want to say, like late November through early December up till probably January, and I think it's still kind of going on still. But for those people who don't remember, can you kind of simplify what people's thoughts were on this whole situation? I guess during that time, like what was it that most people were thinking? It was like, they saw this Discord stuff and they were like, "Oh, he's a doxer" and stuff like that. Like, what was it? I guess even though you weren't a part of it, you can still kind of see from the outside, because
Mm,
Tonka's was your friend at that point.
yeah.
What was it? What was it like? Having to deal with it. I guess not so much deal with it, but seeing what the effects were from it.
I wasn't dealing with it. Here's the thing. During that time of the Kumite, I
Mm-hmm.
was kind of in a place where I was, in my fucking in a funk, because I went from being pretty active and having pretty active streams and everything to, oh, okay, the guy that I've been regularly streaming with doesn't really come around as often because he's doing his morning show. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a thing where I was like, all right, I guess I'll just watch Netflix for a bit. So I was just off fucking, in my own fucking space. I was not involved in the crowd stuff. I was watching from the audience pretty much. So I know as much as everybody. The only time I ever talked to Kraut was there was a moment where Unknown Archive came to me and he asked me to talk to Kraut to try to get some sense into him, and I talked to him with Unknown Archive there, and was trying to explain to him why this is the audience's opinion of why this looks bad, and you should be open, transparent with all this. And his reaction was to tell me to fuck off, and that if I didn't have any proof that he was guilty, to get lost. And yeah, I was like, all right, and we never talked again after that. I have not talked to the crowd since then, and that happened during that time. I don't remember when, but it was shortly after the whole thing with crowd started. And yeah, I think because of that moment, probably is why I've been put on his hit list
Yes.
that people have been putting out there.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I guess I'm kind of getting lost here because just because of the amount of stuff that has come out, I guess from Crown, I think I just thought kind of everyone involved with Tonka kind of got into that. So I want to apologize for trying to seem like you were a part of that, but
Mhm.
that's still pretty messed up. And so that's where Kraut comes into it. Is I guess just for people who don't know, he kind of, I guess, made some type of, he made a Discord server. Apparently there were doxes in it. From what I've seen, I
Mhm.
think that there are. From what he tries to portray, there isn't. So I mean, I think everyone's got different views on it now. But at the
Mhm.
time, from people who were, you know, there, I think from my perspective, everyone knew that this was fucked up. Everyone knew that it was really messed up, and I think kind of they just wanted to see the entire community burn. And I want to touch on something too because you brought it up earlier. Kilroy was kind of about that time, and it kind of attached on to this whole movement. I think it might have been partly because of Medicare, partly because of the fuckery going on with the planning around it. So I think you, if I'm remembering, you were one of the people who had actually pitched the idea originally to a group at, what was it, Bubba Gump's? Is that correct?
Yeah, I was trying to get this idea of shitcon. I had like brought it up, in a stream way before VidCon. But at VidCon, I was like, yeah, we need to get something like a shitcon. A terrible name now. Uh, but a convention for shitlords and blah blah blah. And I had pitched it to Andy, and Andy was like, "Yeah, if you organize something like that, I'll help promote it." Which he helped promote Kilroy. Uh, Kilroy, that came out of I was pitching the idea. I think it was the Rucka Rucka or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
some black guy. I don't remember at this point. And Base Mama and Sister Danger heard it, and they were really into the idea of a convention. Sister Danger said she had previous experience with conventions. We learned later on that that was very loose experience or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Base Mama's experience was a bake sale, and yeah, uh, Base Mama was like, "Yeah, let's do it in Arizona," and everybody was like, "How about Vegas or California instead?" And she was like, "No, Arizona. I live in Arizona, and I have a lot of guns." And yeah, and so that's how why it ended up there. Here's the thing: I live in Miami, and the last thing I wanted to do was do it in Miami. I figured like do it somewhere, like Vegas, because doing it in your hometown, I get it. It's easy because you could do a lot of things, but it's also kind of like, eh, it, you want it to be somewhere cool, you know?
Because you don't want it to be in, somewhere like Phoenix where it's 180 degrees every day
Hmm.
of the year, obviously. So what ended up happening is, I guess you pitched the idea to Andy and or Rucka and or some black guy, and
Hmm.
uh, and I think Wild Tanuki was there too, somewhere from what I understand. But uh, and you pitched it, and then Sister Danger and Base Mama come up and they're like, "Oh, well, we've got prior experience with this," and they're saying all these things, and then they kind of just take your idea and run with it. And I think everyone knows where that ended up. It led to
Well,
this.
we were all originally part of the planning phases for Kilroy. Like we had this big old group chat on Twitter where we were trying to like organize it, get people around to promote it and everything, getting people from all communities into it, not just the skeptics, but the SJW community, the blah 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 community, all and even even the all right,
Mhm.
the biggest thing of it was I never wanted a convention to be focused on free speech because at that point, well, who are you going to let everybody on? Are you going to let Amos Yee have a panel on why pedophilia is okay?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it kind of took a little bit of a turn. Yeah, and I think that was starting to become a problem. I think with some of the people who were looking about going. I think some people were kind of hesitant because they were like, free speech event. I thought this was just kind of like a hangout type thing. I didn't think it was gonna be like stuff like this. Like, are we having everybody on? And then I guess sort of towards whenever this started shifting from Crown T's drama into the area of Kilroy, what ended up coming out is that they were kicking out people like Baked Alaska. They were kicking out people like Faith Goldie and all these, I guess, quote unquote alt right people or far right people, and they just weren't having a say. And it's kind of antithetical, in hindsight, to, to say that it's a free speech event because it really wasn't.
Mhm.
Because all they had was, I from what I would look at it, I would consider most of the people that they had there kind of left. But that's a story for another time. But you know, they're they shoehorned your idea into their own narrative and kind of ran with it. And I this is also about the time where you guys started launching because of the Medicare shit. So
My idea isn't original. Like people make conventions all the time.
yeah,
The only thing I think I contributed was getting the idea into the right people's heads that had, like Andy Worski had big numbers and other people had big numbers that could have made a thing happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you guys kind of just like shot off after that with, the Medicare videos come out. There's four of them, I think. Um,
Mhm.
three of them focus on Crout and T. One of them is on Kilroy, and you see you guys is in there, and they start talking about. And then there's another video that comes out like a month or after that, I think it was, called IBS, Internet
Mhm.
Blood Sports. This is the first time anyone's heard of this, aside from if they watch one of the shows. So the Internet Blood Sports would have been the Morning Kumite, which was
Mhm.
Tonka's show. It was BYBS, which I'm thinking it's Joaquim and Zoom,
Mhm.
correct? And then what was the third one? It was Ralph Stream, the Kill Stream.
Yeah, Ralph stream and Baked Alaska also had a stream that he was, starting to get off the ground where he was getting some actual guests and everything.
Hmm. And then you guys, I guess, sort of during this time started becoming a internet blood sports show. Obviously, from the name, as the title suggests. You guys started
Yeah.
focusing less on having a guest there to talk with, and more, I think, focusing on. I think a lot of people perceived it as you guys were just focusing on screaming at people, right?
I'll explain the blood sports thing real
Yeah,
quick.
go ahead.
There was a stream where I went on, and it was during the time where the Kumite didn't even have a name at that point. It was just Tonka streaming, and I brought up a idea that I had where it would be like a tournament where YouTubers would come on, argue with each other, and whoever had the most, like, they would come in with their Streamlabs, and whoever had the most donations from their fans would end up winning.
Hmm.
And they, a lot of people never went for it. A lot of people never went for it, but there was a fuck, social rec. Uh, Social Rec was a guy that we knew at the time, and he created a image, that was called the Kumite, and the Kumite comes from blood sports because it's a tournament and has like a million fucking people in it, and so that's where the name and kind of the idea of people coming to yell at each other came from, because originally a lot of the fights weren't even actual real fights. Like AP is in the audience. AP at one point was the champion, and a lot of his fights were never real.
So kind of like scripted, I guess, or not so much scripted, but people didn't actually have beef, because I think that was one of the problems with one of the streams. I think I actually showed up on one, and that was I think it was Geek Thulu, me, AP, and you were the four,
Mhm.
and it kind of fell apart. I think partly because of me, but it's kind of like having fake beef with each other, and then you would yell across the aisle at the other side, and whoever bitched out first, it was whoever did that won. And unless it's my case, which I just said I was gonna do something really fucking gay to you, and then I got DQ'd from it. But so your premise kind of started off as that, and then it kind of started morphing over time into let's get on these fucking crazy people.
Mhm.
Some of them, I guess, were kind of crazy. Let's get on Amos Yee. Let's get on Destiny. Let's get on, fucking Jeff Holiday. Whoever, someone people universally do not like, and let's yell at them and try to see the error of the ways. And if they don't, then we'll punk them out like a punk ass bitch, pretty much.
Mhm.
Would
Yeah.
that be an accurate descriptor of what that kind of turned into?
Yeah, but a big part of it was at the beginning. The host was not part of the thing. The host was there to organize it, and the audience was the judge. We would do the whole thing: press one if this person won, or press two if this person won. And slowly, instead of being a host, became judge and executioner.
Mm-hmm. So it became, like the Caesar. He would hold out his thumb to the side and then
Mhm.
up or down, determined if you lived or died. So it kind of started becoming that, where I think it's a good premise though, to be honest. But the audience gets to choose who wins, whoever they like more, whoever they think is killing the other side in some type of a debate type structure, I guess you would call it. That's who chooses who wins, and that was the
Yeah,
whole premise of the Kumite.
yeah, but like, let's say you have a ruler and he goes into the arena and he's looking like Danny DeVito, but killing Arnold Schwarzenegger's because he's the boss.
Hmm.
It started to be a thing where people were like, yeah, yeah, no. Like one of the early fights that I remembered that really went sideways was a fight that involved Tonka versus Rantin Monkey. I don't know if anybody here remembers it, but Tonka's defense against Rantin Monkey was just yelling "ho" at him for 10 minutes,
Okay, and
and he claimed that as a victory.
okay, okay. So he
Yeah.
screamed "ho" at him for 10 minutes, and then he claimed it as a victory. Did the audience seem to think that he won that one, or was it
Oh,
a
a
what?
lot of people. Well, T-Tech is in the chat. He says I turned it off. A lot of people got sick of it.
A lot of people got sick of it. And do you what at what point during this whole thing? Because I know you guys did huge streams. Destiny's stream was huge with you guys, and you had the huge Baked Alaska stream, and you guys kind of, I guess, ran him off the internet a bit. You guys and Ralph kind of did that. So,
Hmm.
and then you guys start losing a little bit of momentum, I guess, towards what, March, April, where everyone's starting to tune into like people like Ralph, and now that uh, what's his face is gone, Baked Alaska's gone. Andy kind of disappeared for a little bit, then came back, and he kind of had some type of a blood sport type thing.
We
And
were fluctuating around 1,500 to like 3,000,
okay, so you get
and
okay,
yeah, like on really good shows we get a little bit more than 3,000, but usually it was between 1,500 and 3,000. It would sink down to like 1,500 and then spike up a little bit, and so it was just a constant up and down between those two numbers. And uh, I think a big part of the downfall was when the whole JF stuff happened.
okay. And the JF stuff being that JF showed up to Andy Worski's stream, right? And he started becoming a co-host.
Hmm.
And then from there, what in your eyes? Because is this about the time that you started becoming a co-host back on the Kumite, or was it before this, or was it after this?
Yeah, I was already on the Kumite.
Okay.
Uh, well, basically, JF became a co-host on Andy's channel and kind of took it over. And a big part of that audience ended up leaving after the split, and them leaving Andy also ended up affecting the Kumite.
Okay. In what way did it affect the Kumite though?
I think the fact that Andy was also a big part of the Kumite at that point, he was a regular because he wasn't having as much fun as he wanted on his show, so he would go onto the Kumite as kind of a place to unwind.
Okay. Okay. I think I remember those days. He would come on, he would talk to whoever was I guess the blood sacrifice for that day, and he would yell at him, try to get out his little thing. He would have a little a
Here's
little
the thing:
laugh.
a lot of times when Worski came on, those were not really Bloodsport days. Those were just hanging out and bullshitting days. Those days really felt like fucking morning radio.
Okay. So it's kind of like a radio show, and I think you were one of the proponents for having a call-in show, correct? Like a morning
Yeah.
call-in show.
By the way, let me address one thing that Spectre says. Remember, they were just saying that Tonka and you were telling Andy to drop Jeff privately while saying it was a dumb idea to drop him publicly. My stance on Andy's thing was he needed to make his own little side channel or do his own side streams. Keep doing the thing with JF, but do something on his own. JF was not happy with that. He demanded, I'm here for 3 streams a week. I need 3 streams a week. It got to a point where Andy came to me, Geek Fulu, and Tonka, and was like, I'm gonna do a stream tonight. I'm gonna get rid of JF, and I think that was around the time where JF kind of felt it coming and made his own video. Uh, I was like, yeah, if that's what is gonna make you happy, man, got to do it. And I think Geek Fulu was on the same page, and Tonka was on the same page. Later on, he flipped it and said that business wise, it was a dumb decision, whatever. But at that time, his stance was, if that makes you happy, do it. Yeah.
Okay. And I know around that time there was a little bit of some issues, I guess, with y'all and BYBS as well. Would you say that was after JF kind of split during the same time or before?
Well, that was more Tonka and them.
It was more
I
talking though.
Yeah, I didn't really interact with those people. My type of dudes were like AP and Ghastly at the time. I did not go to any controversial streams. I went to more like AP and Ghastly, Sinatra streams. I'm trying to Cog, those
Hmm.
type of streams. I did not go to the backyard blood sports streams.
Okay. But so you didn't get involved with those guys, but do you remember about the time that that happened? Was it like what was the time frame? If you can refresh my memory.
I, I really probably around the time of Baked Alaska, I want to say.
Around the time of Baked Alaska. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. So and then I guess your your streaming channel gets taken down somewhere around that time too, and I think we kind of saw a little bit of fracturing with the group after some of that's happened. I think there was a point there where Tonka said he wasn't wanting to come back on and do it because every time he would do a stream, it would like get taken down. Maybe I'm mischaracterizing that. Maybe you can shed some light on that. I know you guys, you especially, are one of the people that was I guess closest to him. To the point where he called you a friend a few months ago. So what
Well, a lot of people are saying that, him calling me a friend was just a tactic.
Yeah. Well, it seems like
Uh,
it now for sure. I mean, I'd say that that's a correct assessment.
mm, that wasn't the guy, that was the character
Hmm.
saying that.
Hmm. People
Uh,
people put on a mask like that, and then they don't know how to you know take it off
yeah.
whenever they're needing to be serious. And maybe that's part of the reason why. But
Mhm.
anyways, get back to what we were talking about. So. What was the situation there with like getting the channels taken down? I know you started kind of doing stuff on your channel too, like uploading Kumite stuff, and then there was kind of like some area in there where he started wanting to quit. What was the your perspective on all of that there?
Well, it went from his channel to mine. This was around the time also that like he, he was at war with Jeff Holiday, which in turn turned into a war with Mundane Matt, and we ended up busting Mundane Matt's balls a lot. Like here's the thing, when I was like good friends with Matt, I would still bust his balls. Like when he cried over that play button. I made fun of him during that time. That's why I knew where the video was, even though it was 2 years old, and was like, we're talking about a play button. Look at Matt with this play button. It's funny because I found it funny then. I tried to be consistent. And yeah, Matt took offense to it because we really fucking, there were some days where every day was a beat up Matt day,
Yeah.
and there was one stream that was titled with Matt's name, and that ended up getting a strike, and so we were forced to go from Tonka's channel. with the Kumite to my channel.
Okay, and then what ended up happening on your channel? Was it much of the same? Like you guys started making fun of Matt, and then he struck it again, or what was the next, I guess, step after that? What happened after it went to failure accomplished or failure terminated or failure hates you, whichever one you guys were using at the time?
Well, we were on there for a month, and basically the at the time they were called the Anime Mafia, or whatever. Had a real beef with Tonka because of his involvement with somebody that they didn't like, and so they took it out on Tonka. And what better way than taking down the Kumite? So they ended up finally getting the Kumite a temporary strike. It came back a few days later, and at that point, we were already on Andy's channel. Uh, at, right around that time, Ralph, the kill stream, actually got a strike, and since my channel had the ability to stream again, I was like, hey, why don't you just take my channel? Here's the keys. It only lasted for 2 days because they got their strike lifted, but that was the first time that I helped out Ralph with a channel.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so we ended up I'm going through it because the reason we went to Andy's channel was after the channel got a strike. Uh, Tonka basically went to the morning DK, and he he answered somebody's question, and it came off very like, why even bother, starting over? I'm just going to go take the keys to my boat, and I'm leaving the internet, and I'm done with it because I'm not going to go to another channel to try to build up the show again.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, Andy was kind of in a rough patch with his stuff, and he had always wanted to do a show with me, and I still didn't want to give up on the Kumite, so I brought it up to Andy, like, Andy, how about we do the Kumite on your channel? You have your channel that's verified, and pretty protected. The Kumite, not at its best, but it still had some juice in it left. So I brought it up. He said, "Well, let's talk to Tonka," and brought it up to Tonka, and Tonka said, "Fine." So that's how that chapter started up.
Okay. And I do have a question from Brian here. He wants to say, do you think in hindsight the mundane Matt thing, where he was flagging everyone's stuff, I guess is what he's talking about, is as bad as letting Tonka, or as Tonka letting down all his fans? And do you think Tonka deserves to be made fun of as much as Matt does?
If I, I I don't think Matt's thing is as bad. I look, he he reacted badly to just fucking some internet fucking ribbon and fucking jokes and shit. He It was a bitch move to go trying to strike people. He admitted his faults, maybe a little bit late, but he did admit them, and but he's paying for it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
That there is still not a sense of Tonka accepting that he did anything wrong. His apology starts with him blaming other people.
Mm. And I think that's a telltale sign of somebody who really isn't sorry for something. I think you kind of saw this with, Kraut and T's apology, his first one that he made, then deleted it, was, I blame Zeph for everything. I blame Liz Reptile for everything. It's never somebody takes responsibility for their actions. It's
Mhm.
they want to push the blame onto everybody else and do as much damage control as possible. And then if nobody believes them, then they're always going to have their own group to go back to and kind of echo chamber themselves up. And then I think you saw this with, you know, I kind of want to touch on this a little bit later, but you kind of saw this with Kraut, is that he goes back into his echo chamber, he hibernates for, half a year or whatever, and then he comes back, and then I guess the Tonka leaks came out, and they were trying to get everything settled back in where Tonka was going to help Kraut make a comeback and show that all this doxing stuff was fake and everything. I do want to touch on that later, so I'm not going to get your opinion on it just right away. But so I'm just giving my 2 cents off as to what I think. So, but as far as Tonka and you on Andy Worski stream,
Mhm.
what ended up killing, I guess, that relationship to where it was you guys were all cool, your buddies, we're all streaming, having a good time, having a cool morning show. Hey Andy, let's come on your channel, let's make the Kumite happen, it's gonna be awesome. And then this, what we have today, what led from that time to this time?
Well, it was a thing where me and Andy were having a blast. We were having a blast, and Tonka not so much. Tonka wasn't enjoying the shows. We would have great shows, and right after the show, it would be like that was a fucking terrible show, and just leave. And we would show up like an hour early to do show prep. He wouldn't show up until like 2 minutes before the show started, and never stayed after the show to talk about anything. He would just dip. So this started to create tension between him and Andy. Andy also, there were days where because the vibe was fucking funky on the show, it wasn't good. There was days where the quota, to keep a show going between three guys was not met.
Mm-hmm.
And uh I think if the show was actually going good, he probably wouldn't have panicked. But because it wasn't going good, the moment that Tonka started with a "oh well, I'm done with the show" or "I'm leaving the internet" or those things, it happened once on a Wednesday, and the second time it happened, we were like, all right, well, he said he was leaving. I guess this time, he deleted his Twitter, and it's time for the show, and there's no Tonka, and he's not answering his phone, and so it was a thing of I guess we do a end of the Kumite fucking show, and that pissed off a lot of people. That definitely, there was a lot of people that saw that as a betrayal of Tonka.
Mm-hmm.
E- Even though like we felt like we were in the right because he deleted his Twitter and had no communication. It was already way past showtime, and he wasn't around.
Okay. And so this is where we start seeing I guess the crumbling. It's the IBS apocalypse stream. It's the BYBS stuff with Tonka. It's the he's showing up late or not at all to pre-recorded or not pre-recorded but pre-show stuff where you guys are talking about what are we going to talk about today, guys. What's the deal
Hmm.
for today? What are we going to do? And it goes from that to him. He's just going to leave the internet. I'm just going to quit. There's no
Hmm.
point. And then Andy says, you know what, enough of this. I'm done. Let's just split off. We'll have our own shows. It'll be
Hmm.
fine. And you guys go your separate ways. Do you think that ended amicably, or was there a little bit of tension and animosity between Tonka and Andy?
Oh, there
Um,
was definitely tension that never left.
Tension that never
That
left.
is, yeah. It never got settled. It never got squashed. And even when I tried to be a peacekeeper and get them to sit down, they they're both very similar, and neither wants to bend the knee for the other.
Hmm. Do you think it's just like obviously Tonka's at fault with some of that, but you think it's a clash of egos, a clash of what do you think causes most of their troubles? Is it Tonka's fault mostly? Is it both of their faults? Is it just they're just two different people that cannot get along with each other? I mean, I don't think that one's necessarily true because I think they worked well together for quite a long time. So, what do you think is the main cause for all the tension that happened after the split?
I I think Tonka never owning up to, the whole thing where his bad attitude and not showing up was definitely something that fucked with Andy,
Hmm.
And especially, something like that happening on his channel where this is his livelihood and he has a channel with uh at the time it was like 290,000 subscribers. it that's a bad hit,
Mm.
and he saw Tonka as responsible for that.
Do you think he still thinks of Tonka as responsible for like all the stuff he's lost up till today? Do you think that's still? Like, I know you guys aren't friends, I guess, anymore. I'm not sure if you guys talk in private or whatever. I'm not gonna ask you that because it's not really my business
Yeah,
or anyone's. But
when we were talking, his mindset was that Tonka's trying to ruin his life.
really, so I guess we're trying to get taking a little bit of a dive into Andy Warski's psyche on this. So Andy's at the point now after Tonka's not showing up. He's thinking, is this guy purposely ruining my streams? I guess if I was, in his shoes. I mean, I think I would be thinking kind of the same thing, especially if I'm losing mass amounts of subscribers by having this guy on. All we do is stream every day. People aren't starting to like it. There's kind of like half-hearted jokes getting thrown out, half-hearted attempts at stuff. Not by you two, not by Andy and Failure, but by Tonka. Is
Andy really put up an effort to entertain, and and that day with the Mayo King, he really stepped up and took one for the team with that expired Mayo fucking shit.
okay. So, and he's just it's weighing on his mind, and then Tonka's like, I'm done. I quit the internet. I don't want to deal with this crap anymore. I've got other stuff to do. I'm gonna go out on my boat, never come back.
Hmm.
Do you think that I know I've already asked this. So you think that it's still weighing on his mind even to this day, from when's last you talked to him, which was probably what, a month or two ago?
Yeah.
You think it's still weighing on his mind that's? I think with that logic, I think it's understandable that they would come to something like the fight. I think it's kind of a logical conclusion that that's where it goes, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I say it is.
Okay, and then
But
go ahead. Sorry.
no. You go ahead.
So, well, after they split, they still have animosity. Andy kind of goes a bit bananas, cuckoo crazy, I guess you would say,
Hmm.
lighting his nipples on fire and stuff like that. Some pretty wild stuff, and he disappears.
Hmm.
He's not seen again for a while. And I know he'd post like, every once in a while he's like, "Hey, new stuff's coming soon, guys. Just wait. New stuff's coming soon, guys." And then I know you were kind of encouraging him along the way. It's so, hey Andy, I'm glad to see you're back. Whenever he posts that video he did with Chris, where about him going wild or whatever. And what happens from that point where you're starting to encourage him to where you were, I guess, at odds ends now with Andy? Was it just
Well,
Tonka getting in the way? Was it what was it?
Uh, I think it's definitely that him and Tonka had something that never got settled, and being in the middle, I was friends with two enemies,
Hmm.
and each enemy saw me as being weak for not throwing the other person under the bus.
And they're kind of blaming you, and I really do feel bad for you because this is kind of why I wanted to talk to you because I see you doing all these good things for everyone, and you're being so nice to everybody. You're being a great guy, helping all these channels out, and I think that's kind of something I wanted to touch on with Kumite. It wasn't just you at start. It's always been you. I want to say that. So every time someone's in need, you always help them. But at
Hmm.
least in my experience. But Kumite actually helped out a few creators too. Whenever it was the thing, you had AP, Ghastly, you had T-Tac, you had Optic Decay, you had Otha whenever Otha was a thing, you had all these creators who do all these wonderful things. You had cartoon makers, you had artists, you had YouTubers, you had other streamers and stuff like that. And you guys are helping them out along the way. And, it kind of builds up some reputation as you guys are like the show to go on, and I think a lot of people still recognize that up until recently, is that you guys were one of the big shows to go on, and it's just really weird to me how it could go from that level of trust and respect from people in the Kumite community to what it is today, which is no one trusts anybody in that
Hmm.
community. Well, maybe not you, but there is some sort of an animosity now, and I saw it today. There was people I had seen in the Kumite chats. I'm not gonna lie, I was a Kumite fan. I was Team Tonka Saw all the way. I thought he was gonna go up there. I thought he was gonna rip Andy a new one. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
just gonna be honest. I'm gonna put my stuff out there, but I cannot say that I am not utterly disappointed by this end result. As I said at the start of the stream, it's where did you start seeing this? I guess slip from him being a respectable creator where he's helping all these people to what we see today? Was it after Andy and him broke up? Was it before? Was it with the BYBS stuff? What was going through your head during this entire
I
like
think the BYBS stuff and him entering the ring as a combatant was definitely start of the downfall.
okay. Was it just that they went on his throat, or do you think it's like what?
I think it's the fact that you have a person that is getting into confrontations with people, and once you make an enemy, that person is going to look into you, and that person is going to dig at you, and you know they might get close to the lie or close to the problem. You know, like a big thing was he didn't want his face out there.
Mhm.
A lot of people knew what he looked like. A lot of people had videos of him wrestling. Uh, a big problem with that was back when before the Kumite even started, we were trying to like help him get into the idea of streaming, and part of that was Andy Worski actually helped him get to 1,000 subscribers. And at 1,000 subscribers, he said he was going to do a face reveal.
Mhm.
He did one on Discord, and that's the only place he did one, and it never went beyond that. I don't know if anybody here remembers that, but yeah, he did a minimal face reveal and then never did it again.
So he went. So he's made this lavish promise of 1,000 guys. I'm showing my face. I don't want to have to deal with the anonymity anymore. I'm just gonna show.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna show my face. And it kind of came off as an impression of, hey, I want to show my face on a live stream. And what ended up happening was, well, maybe I won't show it on a live stream.
Well,
That's where everyone can see it.
Psycho says that most of us didn't want to see him. That is true. There were people that did not want to see him.
Mm.
But the thing is, he did say that he was going to do a face reveal and did show his face on Discord.
And so I guess that kind of brings up a point too. So is it? Do you think that Tonka's stubborn, like a really stubborn person?
Yeah.
Okay. So like whenever he says something, I guess he's kind of honest in that way too, somewhat. Let me let me put a big asterisk next to that. But he makes a promise. He goes through with it with the face reveal, but he's so stubborn that he's not listening to the fans and what they want. Would you say that that's accurate of what happened with the face reveal?
Yeah. Well, Short Lexicon in the chat says people just gave him an excuse he still uses with the oh, people don't want to see me excuse.
Okay. So it's still something he uses today.
Hmm.
Okay. And I do want to address this because Spike keeps asking me. Sorry, Spike. I know it's been a while, but Spike wants to ask, I guess us, why is Tonka so afraid to show his face on stream? I guess that's in response to what he did this morning, where everyone was asking him why he wants to show his face. And Spike, thank you for the $1.99. So what do you think? What do you think he's afraid to show his face? If he's already shown it, I mean, there's not really much to be afraid of at this point. Do you think? or is it just him
My
being stubborn
only
again?
thought, my only like if I had to try to figure out a reason why he wouldn't show his face is he's a retard retard when it comes to technology.
Okay.
Like I took a peek at the stream. I didn't listen to it because the audio was too low, and like his OBS, setup and everything is weak. Like him with a camera, even though he has a camera, is fucking might as well be from like 1995.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that might be one reason he doesn't, because that would be an extra step of having to do something or set something up.
Mm.
God forbid somebody sees his Spice Girl poster in the background.
Oh, oh no.
It's not something that he had. He's talked about having a Spice Girl poster in the past.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
again, I guess this brings up his stubbornness. He's just so stubborn. He doesn't want to, I guess, deal with technology. Maybe
yeah.
that's just it's strange to me that he does all these things that are just so stubborn. Whenever it's already, yeah, maybe he is just technology illiterate. Maybe I can just claim that he's no, just so silly and dumb that he can't, show his face because of his camera. Or do you think it's just because shame? Do you think it was shame this morning? I think, or not. Well, I guess it wasn't this morning. It was. Well, was it this morning? Was that when the Kumite came through?
I don't. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like at 1 o'clock or something like that.
yeah. So, do you think it was just his? Do you think it was cowardice on his part, or just his technology illiteracy, or was it both?
Uh, yeah, I don't have a good reason why he wouldn't show his face at this point, especially if you were planning to show up to the fight. Why not show your face?
Okay, and I think a lot of people were bringing this up too. Since he's hanging out with Crowd a lot now, I think some people were wanting to ask, do you think that? I know you said you. I guess you didn't watch much of it because the audio was so terrible. But knowing what we know about Kraut, knowing what we know about Tonka hanging out with him, do you think that Kraut wrote an apology for him and he was reading it from a script? I don't know if you heard the apology.
I did not hear the apology.
Okay, so it kind of seems reminiscent, and we've had some issues. I think AP knows this. We had some issues with a guy not too long ago named, you know, Scooby, and there was kind of an issue with him saying lavish things about how big and bad he is, and then whenever push comes to shove, he's kind of shows that he's a bit of a bitch. And then with the Crown and T thing, we kind of saw a push away from uh, him taking blame onto himself. He exaggerated how much people were a part of his issues. So he blamed
Hmm.
Liz and he blames Zev. Do you think that Tonka seems like he's kind of in the ballpark with these guys now after today? Because from what I'm remembering of the stream, you said it yourself. He kind of pushed
I
blame on
think
other
I
people.
think there's definitely people that caused problems for him, but he also caused a lot of his own problems too.
Hmm.
Like, here's the thing: a lot of people don't remember because it's been a while since he was on Twitter. He would argue all fucking day with people, all day. Does anybody, let's go a little bit old school here. If you've seen a Tonka just arguing with people on Twitter with long ass fucking back and forth fucking shit, press a fucking one.
Press one in chat.
Yeah, because like I've told him like that, like, dude, you might forget these people that you're arguing with and insulting and all that, and talking about how, oh, you're so much better than them and all that. You're gonna forget them. They're not gonna forget you.
For sure, for sure, and that just kind of plays. What I was gonna say though, is, do you think he's in their league now? Like, do you think? I know we touched on it with mundane Matt stuff, but do you think he's in the league of people like Zeph and Kraut now, just based on the amount of lies that he's told, the amount of just falsehoods and just all around bullshit that he kind of pushed out at everyone. And then today and yesterday and the day before, it kind of shows that no, he's not as big and bad as he thinks he is. You know,
Oh, I think somebody said it the best that Mundane Matt is pretty much dancing right now since he's no longer the biggest fucking. Well, I
pussy
guess
on
you
the
could say,
internet.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of correct. I really do. You know, so let's get back to the timeline here. So we now have Andy and Tonka's beef covered, and then he
Mhm,
gets into the fight. Everybody knows the lead up from the fight to now. So
mhm.
I don't think a lot of people noticed this until it kind of became more and more apparent. Excuse me, apparent. What was his idea? I don't know if he told you or if this was just kind of like a thing that happened. What was his idea behind going after Medicare? Was it just he didn't
Oh,
like him,
well,
or
we skipped a little bit of a timeline here because the summer of 2017, I had no interaction with the Kumite really.
mm-hmm.
The Kumite went through a phase where Ian Mouse Chong and Rariachi were the co-hosts, and I was not involved. The stream was on Vamp's channel, and around like late August, September, around there, I got to talking to Tonka again, and we squashed our beef, and yeah, little by little, like we would have off-air conversations that were like the good old days, right? And eventually, he kept throwing the offer, like, "Hey, whenever you want back, there's always a spot." Blah blah. Blah. And finally, I was like, "Sure." And when I came on, well, Ian Malmström was already gone, and Rariachi, I guess, also there was a thing. Uh, it, I don't really know the story about Rariachi, but what I was told at the time was that he was having issues with people going after him, and that's the reason he was no longer around. I don't know if that's because he went on the Kumite and got involved with Tonka, and Tonka's enemies became his enemies. I don't know any of that because I was not watching the Kumite at that time. And so yeah, we started streaming again. The numbers were low because fucking on Vamp's channel they were I think like at 100 fucking viewers, and so we started streaming again, and we ended up slowly, 200, 300, 400, 500. We ended up getting to the point during the mundane mat thing happened where like the audience was starting to get back to like 1,000 to 1,200 people watching on the regular. But he never let go of the IBS apocalypse stuff with Medicare. Medicare had, he was no longer coming around, but he didn't really have any beef with me or Tonka. I don't know if he had beef with Tonka or not, but he always said he had no problem with me. But he was leaving Tonka alone pretty much. But Tonka took jabs at him because he was taking jabs at Sargon. He got into a needless fucking fight with Medicare, and the bad thing of that is out of those 1,200 people, half the audience was like, "Oh, you're gonna fuck with Medicare? We're Medicare people. Fuck you. We're out of here."
okay? So it was kind of just a symptom of IBS yet again. I really think that that IBS apocalypse room really got to him. Like it ate into him, and I think what you touched on with his, his wanting for anonymity so much, and then
Mm-hmm.
it kind of got stripped away from him. I think that kind of made him more vulnerable. In terms of vulnerability on the internet, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
it kind of stripped away his mystique, and then he shows his face off in the Discord. People don't want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of the interesting thing with the Tonka Saw character, because I'm going to call it a character because it's obviously not the man. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of his thing was like it was a mystique. You had a guy who was really into martial arts. He was, the king of the blood sports. He had all these big name people coming on. He would have big YouTuber fighting big YouTuber. He would have people in the chats chanting his name, chanting numbers, doing all this stuff for him. And then after IBS, it just kind of got stripped away. It was like, let's look behind the curtain. Let's see who the man is. And
He
then
was the cool kid in the playground. He was the kid with the dirt bike. He was the kid that fucking, knew karate. He was all that fucking shit. And slowly, these things started getting chipped away. The dirt bike turned into a wheelchair. I know it was a meme and it's not real, but it still fucking got to him. And him letting it get to him fucking made it into a fucking thing.
mhm.
Uh, the the Donga stuff, the caveman stuff, all of that fucking got to him. So it was no longer the cool kid in the playground. It was the kid that sits at the special ed table.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
And the coolest kid at the special ed table is still the fucking at the special ed table.
Still a kid at the special ed table. Right, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, for sure. So, okay, that's a, it's see now that's an interesting perspective there because it's it's just really it's kind of weird how just much this got to him. Maybe it's just everything's mountain. He's got all this people starting to leave because now the IBS stuff happened, kind of made him look a little bit bitched out, and stuff keeps piling on, piling on. Andy's coming at him, Medicare's coming at him. Maybe it just broke him. Maybe mentally he just couldn't keep up. I know there's some people that are mentally weak. And I'm not sure if it. I mean, I guess he is mentally weak because he's not going to a fight. That's super easy to win. But, but I guess there's some people who have like this mental block, and whenever they hit the block, they just cannot push through it. Do you think that that kind of describes Tonka from what you know of him, how well you knew him as a person during this time? Do you think mentally weak is a good thing to call him, or an accurate thing to call him? I guess.
No, I would say he is a stubborn-minded fucking person that uh thinks very highly of himself, builds himself up to him, and anybody that really challenges that are, pretty much, yeah, you're casted out. You're no longer a good one, and we saw that with the AP stuff last week.
Mm. So we're gonna be streaming with AP either tomorrow night or Saturday, and we
Hmm.
being me. So I'm gonna touch on some of that stuff with him because I know he had a whole stream last night. He had all these things to say about him. So I do want to cover that with him. But as of right now, where are we at in the timeline? We're looking at the Andy beef, the build up to it. Was there anything else in that timeline?
Well, the Andy stuff. All right, so the beef between them started up, and it took a toll on not only Andy's friendship with me, but my friendship with Tonka as well. Because, like I said, both of them wanted me to basically take their side and go against the other. And I was playing the side of like, no, I want to be neutral. I don't want to really, like. And but meanwhile, things started to stir up, and little jabs from one of the other people to the other, and I decided I'm not gonna acknowledge it or not gonna react to it, and I should have. Like, uh, I want to get your opinion. Tonka posting that, that screenshot of the pedo stuff.
Mm-hmm. Wait, which?
I
Let me hang on. Which pedo stuff are we talking about?
Oh, the alleged conversation with a 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was out of line. I know I've like, after I started fucking fighting with Andy, I probably brought it up once or whatever, but it's something where he wasn't in a place where he was fighting with Andy, so there was no reason to post that. Once he posted that, Andy pretty much took his gloves off.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't think that was very fair to Andy. And I really don't like Andy now after all the shit he pulled. Whenever I was trying to organize this whole fucking debacle, it's kind of glad that I didn't now. Now that I think about it from hindsight, but I mean
Hmm.
that was maybe it's. I mean, he was doing stuff with Kraut, and I know Andy posted. Was it Andy that posted that before, or was it after that that Andy posted the Crown T shit with Crown T and Tonka shit. I'm trying to remember. I think it
Oh,
was.
I
I think it
don't
was
know.
before. I think it was before.
Yeah.
I think it was out of the line. I would still ask him if I was somebody who knew Andy. I would still ask him about it because I know people can doctor shit all the time. I know, but just asking somebody, getting their honest answer would
Yeah.
be, I think, good enough. And
Honestly, at this point, I would reach out to both Tonka and Andy. Get your own interviews. Andy, the best person to probably talk to is maybe like Ralph or something to try to get a hold of him, and just do a interview like this. Get a honest fucking everybody's fucking standpoint of the events that went down. Maybe his recollection of things are the same, or maybe they're different, but at least you'll get an idea of like, okay, this person and this person are telling the same story, but the third person, their story is a little bit off. Which one is the most believable?
mhm.
You know?
and I'm more than willing to do that. Unfortunately, both Ralph Retort and Andy have me blocked, so I'm not sure how I'm going to reach to them. I mean, if Tonka
Uh,
wants to come on at some other point, later, if he wants to, sell his side, I'm more than willing to have him on.
mhm.
I'm extremely disappointed in him, so I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to hide anything that I have to say. Like I said in the start, this isn't an attack at anyone. It's more of a me questioning him.
Mhm.
I guess it's kind of a little bit of an attack, just because. But yeah, because it's kind of
I
bitch made.
know. I know during the stream I've shit on Tonka a little bit. Here's the thing, like Tonka pissed me off a lot of times. Like during the Kumite, uh, he would shoot down ideas of mine, or when I would start talking about something, he would just ixnay it because it wasn't something that he wanted to talk about, or he thought it was stupid or whatever. And having certain people, no, I don't like that person can't come by here, or this person talks too much, or it was little stuff like that. That those were the bad days, but there were good days. There were days where there were fun shows. There were times where we could talk and bullshit and have a fun show, a good show.
Mm-hmm. I just yeah, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it. I think everyone looks at the blood sports days whenever it first was becoming a thing, and I think everyone looks at it and they're like, "Fuck yeah, this was the greatest time. Everyone had fun. Everyone was yelling and screaming at shit. It was a good time. Maybe not the best time for the people involved, but for sure, it's really like I think it was still a pretty good time for everyone to be watching. And like I said, I'll be willing to talk to whoever about this shit. I think there's some sides that are more right than others. I think there's people that have definitely bitched out of things, and it's really messed up. But
Hmm.
everyone's got a reason for doing something, and I'd love to find out the reason. But so I guess that's it for the timeline. But I do want to ask you if you would stay for a little bit longer, because there are some people out there who do have a few questions that maybe I didn't touch on. Not everyone got to submit their questions in. Do you care to stay for a little bit longer to do that, or do you got somewhere to be?
Sure, man.
All right. So if you guys have any questions for either me or Failure, go ahead and just at me down there in the live chat. We'll answer whatever questions you have. If you got any hard hitting questions, Failure told me he's not afraid to answer whatever you guys have to ask. He's a pretty open guy, and we'll see what's going on. So I do have
Yeah.
a few questions from people who did submit them beforehand, though. So one person asked me on Twitter, "Did you ever actually see Tonka fight, like a real fight, like not wrestling?"
No,
Never.
no. I was under the assumption that he had 3 amateur fights that he said he had on VHS tape, and that turns out to be a lie. On that lawyer's show, he said no, they weren't amateur. They were basically illegal backyard fights, not non-sanctioned fights, or whatever. Like it, it wasn't what this was supposed to be. This was supposed to be an amateur fight between him and Andy. and that's why like a lot of people were like, wait, you've done this before, you've had an amateur fight before, why is it so hard for you to actually get your stuff done? And it turns out that no, he's never had a fight, and Andy had an easier time getting stuff done because he's a Canadian. The promoter ended up doing a lot of stuff that Tonka claimed that he knew about. Like an example being, I had no idea that I was supposed to get a cornerman's license,
Mm.
and Tonka never told me anything. I'm not even sure he knew anything about that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the things that frustrates me the most is whenever you said that the other day. Uh, I was looking at it, I was like, how the fuck do you not know that you have to get a license? And then you were like, oh, he never told me. I was like, well, what the fuck? How do you not tell somebody that? Like, I told every single person on that stream that everyone has to be licensed if they're going to do a job in that thing.
Well, ask the Killing Joke. The Killing Joke was supposed to be his corner man, and until he had a heart attack,
Yeah.
ask him if he had a license because chances are he probably
I
had
guarantee
no
you he
idea.
didn't. I guarantee you he didn't. So, Spectre06 Gaming asks, what does he think was the breaking point that turned him from the Tonka we knew originally to the vindictive, spiteful person we know today?
Uh, Probably the backyard blood sports time.
Backyard blood sports time. Okay.
Yeah.
Tyro in Kohate says, at the Politipod, do you see IBS rising again, or are we in a post IBS YouTube era now? What do you think, Failure?
I think you'll get little like hints of like, oh, okay, but like an actual like a 5 day a week and that type of thing. No, I don't think that's gonna make a comeback anytime soon. We like the old golden era of that was definitely when Medicare was coming in every week, and the audience was really into it.
All right. I agree with Failure. I don't think that there's going to be a resurgence unless someone like Ralph or someone like Andy comes back and just makes like some big. I don't know what they're gonna do to do it, but I know Ralph's on Stream Me now. I know he's doing a pretty good job over there. Even though I don't like Ralph that much because he did block me on Twitter. I got to say he's doing the most consistent content right now. I think of any IBS type YouTuber. But he's
Mhm.
not even on YouTube anymore.
I was here's the thing. Even though Ralph was smaller than us, I was jealous of Ralph's show because he had things that I had wanted for a long time on the Kumite, like calls.
Yeah, I know that was a big talking point for some people around that time.
Yeah.
So, anyways, getting back to Tyro's point, I think we are in a post IBS YouTube era. I don't think IBS is going to make a resurgence on YouTube unless, like I said, something big happens. But I mean, on Stream Me, I mean, Ralph's still pretty big over there. I think he's like one of the larger people on Stream.me right now. So I mean, we'll have to see. Maybe he brings over to the whole flock and does something big on here, and maybe he gets unblocked or by YouTube, or maybe YouTube fixes their act, and then people start seeing that shit again. But moving on, Mega Monster 1234 ask, did somebody ask me, the Politipod, why Tonka is so camera shy? I know I saw a super chat. Yes, Mega Monster, that was Spike, and we already answered that question. Revenus says, at the Politipod, at Failure Accomplished, can we get a new Cult of Cactus? Those are the days I miss. And this kind of ties in with another question I always ask. Failure, are you going to start doing your own content?
Cult of Cactus. What, a show with Vamp and Tonka again? No, I don't think so. As far as my own content, yeah, I do plan to start making videos. I am in talks with AP and Unknown Archive to get a show between me and AP off the ground with Unknown Archive as a producer shorts, and so I'm looking forward to that being a possible thing. And yeah.
There you go. AP asked, will you join the Cult of Carol?
Sure, I'll join the cock.
The cock. There you go. Uh, Mega Monster asks, do you think Andy would have won the fight had Tonka showed up? I want to give my answer first, if you don't mind.
Go
I
ahead.
think he would have won if the people he said were training with him were training with him. If he has the background that he actually has, and I think was Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I think if he was training like he said he was, I think yes, he would have probably beat Andy. However, I can't trust if he did that or not now, just based off the stuff that he's done in the last few days. So, I mean, he might have won if he did all that stuff, but I really highly doubt. Somewhere in the back of my mind tells me, no, you're fucking wrong. He didn't train at all. So we'll see. I mean, hopefully he's still in Knoxville. Somebody, maybe they'll fight in Knoxville. I don't know. We'll have to see. Something's gonna happen. I'm sure tomorrow or Saturday, and there's gonna be some huge story that blows up. So maybe we'll see that. Maybe we won't. But that's my part. What about you, Failure? What do you think?
Uh, I yeah, if he was, here's the thing, like a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're turning on Tonka last minute to save your own fucking ass." I believe Tonka was gonna fucking win this fight. I believed I was backing the right horse, you know. And so, under the assumption that yeah, he had fucking BJJ training and had three previous amateur fights, which isn't the case now. I thought that he was gonna fucking wipe the floor with Andy. Uh, I still like there was a 1% chance. I was like, yeah, Andy could get a lucky shot, you know. At this point, I think with everything that I know, Andy probably chance would have increased. You know,
How much do you think it increased? Like what
uh,
percentage? 30, 40, 80?
I'd say at that point it's fucking 50-50 because there's two guys that we've never fucking seen fight.
Right, exactly. Spectre06 Gaming asks, at the Politipod, did Failure do anything to stop Tonka from picking fights with anyone who didn't agree with him? Did you ever try to stop that Failure? I think you said earlier that you tried a couple of times, but what do you think? Did you ever stop Tonka from trying to, I guess, pick a fight with somebody who disagreed with him?
Yeah, I've told him like you need to delete your Twitter, you need to not fucking fight with these people, stuff like that. But that was pretty much the extent. I didn't go. I wasn't gonna be somebody's mom, you know. I wasn't gonna tell him to stop fucking fighting people.
Mm,
I just a lot of his things I didn't get that involved in, you know.
mm,
If anything, I was trying to just fucking make peace with the people that went fucking too far. That's why, like, guys like, Zoom, thanks to Billy the Fridge. Billy the Fridge was like, kind of a person that helped me get in contact with Zoom to be like a. I was trying to get it to a point where maybe the shit could stop between him and Tonka because I saw it going fucking far. Like I I think it's pretty obvious because Zoom openly talks about I looked up this address or I put this out there.
mm,
That's not the fucking type of person you really want to fucking test at that point.
for sure. No, I completely
And
agree.
it like if it's just you, whatever. But when you got people fucking going after your family and shit, you should try to fucking do whatever you can to minimize that. You know.
Mm. American Venus asks, honest question, since Bloodsports killed the commentary community and now Bloodsports has basically killed itself, what is the future? Phil, you go ahead and take that one. I think I know what the future is, but I want to hear your perspective on this.
F- the future probably is just gonna be people are just gonna keep going and doing what they've always done. We're gonna probably see more kill streams. Andy will probably come back and do something with his channel again. I'll be doing my thing. Hopefully, AP will jump on board. AP will be doing the blunt stream. There will be plenty of things. Tonka will be doing the dead air hour. You know, so
Oh man. I honestly think that political commentary is going to make a comeback here very soon, just because of the amount of just big political things that are happening soon. Like there's March for Life is tomorrow morning, which I think I'm going to. And then there's after that there's the Women's March, and then the March for Our Lives, and then obviously we have the start of the campaign season for all the Democratic candidates. So I think a lot of people are going to be looking into that, seeing what's going on. Maybe it's not a right or left thing, maybe it's just commentaries in general, but I think that's going to be the next thing that's going to kind of pop up again. But we'll see. We'll see. Failure, are you sure you want to do shows in Las Tejas? All the buildings in Las Tejas are basically made out of paper mache built by lazy Mexicans, and the strippers have herpes.
yeah, I'll get a fancy trailer. I guess I'm already used to the trailers.
Oh man. Spectre06 Gaming asks, is Failure worried that Tonka might work with Kraut and Fwins to harm him or dox him in response to the disavowal?
I'm already on one of Kraut's hit lists. Didn't you see the screenshot that's been going around?
No, I haven't. Is there a screenshot that's going around? I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, he has a hit list Discord, and I'm on one of the channels. There's a channel dedicated to me.
Uh-oh.
So this stream is probably, listed on there because they keep tabs of their targets.
Oy vey, I hope they realize that I've already doxed myself. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh, I'm so worried. Uh-oh. Please don't hurt me. I'm so afraid of fucking a German with a split open dick. Oof. Revenus asks, Failure, what time will your regular show be from now going forward? Or whenever you start it?
So let's see. I probably will. I'll probably be looking for something during the afternoon, like now that there's kind of a open time slot, huh?
Yeah.
But it won't be 5 days a week. It'll probably be like 2 to 3 times a week.
2 to 3 times a week. Okay. Loyal Logic says, Failure, do you plan on doing any gym videos? And if you do, what do you plan on doing? Are you going to do your regular workouts if you do that? You going to do cardio?
Well, I go to a public gym, so I'm still not at a place where I could really be making videos and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe one day I'll make a video. Maybe I'll go do some prison workouts. And
some prison workouts.
Yeah, go to a playground, hit the jungle gym, do pull-ups.
Hit the jungle gyms, huh? You go on the mean streets of Miami, hit the fucking pull-up bar, kick some kids downstairs, throw them out the windows, everything. The good shit. Always. All right. Well, man, it's been a blast talking to you. I'm kind of glad that we had this chat, because I haven't talked to you in a while. I haven't talked to you in quite a while.
I'm surprised there were no negative negative questions, because I noticed somebody in the chat was accusing me of hanging out with doctors and pedos.
Yeah, that tends to happen whenever people don't agree with you. I see that we got quite a few dislikes now, so I'm guessing that old split dick got the message. But all right, boys and girls, we're going to end it with that. Failure, I want to thank you so much for coming out. Hopefully, guys, we're going to be back to our regular content soon. I know no one's interested in political commentary yet, but if you guys want it, just let me know. I'm always around. Casey should be back soon. So it's going to be me and Casey, and then I think I'm going to do a stream with AP. I'm going to do one with Carrie Waska. Probably not going to do a live one with Carrie. I want to ask her a few questions about some stuff. And then I'm going to, kind of make a video compiling just things that people are talking about, what everyone's view of the Kumite was, because I kind of want to make like a documentary type series, like a 30 for 30, if you guys have ever seen that. But Failure, thanks again for coming out, my guy. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming out for so long. I know we kind of went over time, but again, yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem, man.
All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and sign out now. So if you guys enjoyed the stream, hit the like button. I know everyone here is obviously a fan, but there are some people out there who are cucks and want to dislike the stream. So you guys have a good night, and we'll see you next time on the Politipod. Later.